The enemy mothership appeared to be equipped with a powerful field generator. This field deformed our quantum wavefront and prevented us from making a hyperspace jump. We also observed that the enemy's hyperspace module has an identical power signature to our own. This raises interesting questions considering our own technology was reverse engineered from the wreck of the car Toba. Our hyperspace systems are now functioning properly, and this jump will carry us clear of the nebula.
Something's wrong. We've been pulled out of hyperspace. We're still inside the nebula.
It's a trap. Sensors detect hyperspace inhibitors in a triangular formation. Even one can keep us from entering hyperspace. All of them must be destroyed. The nebula is still scrambling our sensors, but it looks like we have incoming enemy units.
Strike group confirmed.
Again, we offer you the chance to join us and live here in peace.
We cannot stay. We're on a journey. But let there be peace between us, for we have something in common. The hyperdrive technology left to us by our ancestors is identical to yours. The homeworld we seek may be yours as well.
You will fail. The evil that drove us here will find and destroy you. From you, they will know of us and come here. This cannot come to pass.
Docking with carrier. Copy.
We have enemy units closing on multiple attack vectors. Engage and destroy hostiles.
Stay sharp. Strike group acknowledged. Group 2 copy.
Hi everyone, Boomer here and welcome back to Homeworld Remastered after a short break. This time it's the Cathedral of Kadesh, otherwise known as, well, you experienced the garden last time, so now you've got it in triple stereo. Yep, there are 3 needle motherships in this mission, and well, the only real tactic I've found in this mission, at least to start off with, is to just go gung-ho for the first one with our death fleet and try and take it out as fast as possible and try and at least mop up some of the mess. You'll note that I docked my carriers immediately with, docked my salvage corvettes immediately with my carrier. The reason for that is that while this complete furball is going on, my salvage corvettes are pretty much useless, and the issue is that the AI swarmers will target them immediately, and that will cause major issues for me because I don't want to have to completely rebuild my salvage corvette fleet every single time something happens. Still, we can see fuel pods coming in. These would be great for us to steal, but unfortunately, while things are going as mad as they are, we have to be at least somewhat reasonable. But there's the first needle mothership going down, so that will at least take some pressure off us. And you'll also notice towards the mid-bottom of the screen there's a huge amount of beams coming in our direction, and in fact one of our destroyers is getting pretty heftily melted. Yep, they are multi-beam frigates that are coming in on that side, and they are absolutely horrifying to have to fight against. Now don't worry, they will all be mine in the end, or at least some of them will, but at least in this early part of the game I decided that really what I wanted to be was alive rather than doing anything a little bit foolish, and so I'm taking the standard method here, trying to clear a few things out, make sure that these fuel pods are all cleaned up, and I've now launched my salvage corvettes, and I will be, now that things have calmed down a little bit, I am going to launch my salvage corvettes and make them do useful stuff, such as pick up fuel pods. I'm going to bring them over here, just hopefully a little bit out of the way, but you can actually see the enemy swarmers are heading straight for them. They're even ignoring my drone frigates and everything else, so while I'm trying to make my salvage corvettes dodge as much as I can, it is kind of annoying that, I mean, I suppose it's great that they can run interference, because the enemy AI is so daft that they will actually just walk headlong into a trap as long as you've got a salvage corvette on the field. But it does make the use of salvage corvettes a little bit more difficult. Still, we have a few more multi-beam frigates up here, and since these take 2 salvage corvettes per ship, I'm going to select them 2 at a time. Unfortunately, the AI in the game is a little bit daft, and therefore getting the ships 1 at a time, if you select them all, if you select all your salvage corvettes and then just say salvage, the AI will be exceedingly inefficient at it, and it will just basically be a nightmare. So I'm going to try and steal as many as I can, because while my other fleet is completely wiping them out, I don't want this to happen. I am going to steal them somewhat because they are extraordinarily powerful and we can't build them ourselves. Just to give you an idea of how strong multi-beam frigates actually are, you'll see the ion array frigates that I have. Well, a multi-beam frigate, I think they have slightly less hull strength, but instead of having 1 ion beam, they have 4, and they just rake across the front of ships. So they are absolutely devastating, certainly in numbers. If you can get sort of 7, 8, 9, 10 of them, or something like that, just a handful of them, they will take a destroyer down extremely quickly. So the only thing really that can go toe to toe with them in a fight would probably be something like a heavy cruiser, and we don't have heavy cruisers at this point in the game. So in terms of forward facing firepower, there's not really much that can take multi-beam frigates. So what we're doing is, the reason that we're dispatching them so easily with our capital fleet is simply just because our capital fleet is that large that we can take out a multi-beam frigate with a volley or 2. So they're not really giving themselves a massive, I wouldn't say they're giving themselves a great showing at the moment. However, believe me, those ships, you want as many of them in your arsenal as you can. Personally, I think that they were a lot easier to capture in Homeworld 1 rather than Homeworld Remastered, but the reasoning behind that is pretty much that again, the AI in Homeworld Remastered is a little bit better at treating salvage corvettes as a major issue, and because of that, they're not as easy to use. I'm still going to refill my fleet of them because the enemy does use fuel pods an awful lot in this game, and therefore I want those because I think each fuel pod is worth something like 650 resources, and I want those resource units because I can certainly see our ships being extremely under fire at some point. But as you can see, I now have some multi-beam frigates for my fleet, which is always nice. And now that we've managed to consolidate a little bit, and here in fact is a multi-beam frigate, one thing that is quite cool about the multi-beam frigate is that when it fires, it will actually do barrel rolls, and I believe the reasoning behind that, or at least the reasoning that was given in fan circles, is that the reason that they rotate like that is heat distribution. Whether that's correct or not, I honestly don't know, but it's certainly it's quite a cool thing to have happen. So I'm heading over to the second mothership here. Really, this mission starts out as a gigantic furball, and you have to sort of weather the storm, and really the best way to do that is just to go all out attack right at the beginning of the game. And once you've done that, you can buy yourself a little bit of extra time, and once you take out the second mothership, the third one is going to retreat, and that will just give you as much time as you potentially need to, if there's any stray fuel pods, you can salvage them. If you need to do repairs or rebuild your fleet, you can do that. You can harvest. There's tons of things you can do. So, right, as you can see, there's fuel pods and there's the second mothership. So I'm going to take my my death fleet and set it straight onto the mothership because it should be able to burn it down fairly quickly, and that will limit the number of fighters that it throws out. The drone frigates that I have with me should mitigate the fighters. It's a bit of a shame really, because I went kind of overkill on drone frigates for this mission, reason being that really they're the only thing in the game that can help with the swarmers to the level that's necessary, and as you can see here, I'm actually being a big tea leaf, and I'm trying to get hold of all the fuel pods here. Really, drone frigates I think are the only way that you can deal with this in a reasonable reasonable length of time, because fighters just don't get the job done, and multi-gun corvettes are great as well, but they are a little bit flimsy as well. So drone frigates just massacre swarmers, and that's really what we're in this for, because there's so many of them get thrown out. Eventually even multi-gun corvettes are going to get overwhelmed, and you can see them going after my salvage corvettes again, which is something that I absolutely hate, but that's just what's going on. And there goes the second Needle mothership, so we're now in a great position, and we should be able to buy ourselves some time at least.
Supporting friendly units. Strike group.
Enemy vessels retreating to this point. This reading has been consistent despite sensor interference. It has a friendly signature, but it's not one of ours.
Prepare for assault. Group 10 standing by.
Well, that is a little bit odd, considering that absolutely nothing that has happened so far could be considered as friendly, but I suppose this harks back a little bit to what Fleet Command was telling us during the cutscene at the beginning of this mission, in that much of, or at least the enemy ships' hyperdrive systems are pretty much the same as ours. So therefore, you know, shared ancestry maybe, something along those lines. There's certainly some kind of connection between ourselves and the Kadesh.
Attention group 10. En route.
So I'm trying to get my salvage corvettes into a place where they're going to be at least somewhat useful here. I'm getting blown up, but unfortunately swarmers are following them. I should actually here, if I'm being intelligent, I should, yeah, there we go, send my salvage corvettes directly into my line of drone frigates, because that will basically send these swarmers completely to their death against a force like that. And the salvage corvettes can happily just stay alive, or at least attempt to stay alive. They've definitely taken a bit of a beating in this mission, and I don't really have the RUs to replace them at this point either, which is a little bit disconcerting. So what I'm looking for now, I'm just looking to see if there's any stray fuel pods anywhere, because they are going to get me some much needed resource units. I can repair everything that... there they are down there. I can see them now. So let's just pull my salvage corvettes back, and we're going to grab onto these one at a time. Oh, there's tons of them. There's absolutely tons of them. That's absolutely brilliant. Let's have a look at that. So remember, each one of these is about 650 RUs. So that is a tremendous amount of RUs there, and you can see that, you know, we could be dealing with about 10,000 RUs by the time we grab all these back. Of course I'm going to start blowing some of them up, because why wouldn't I? But yeah, this is literally, we've just come across a massive resource cache, so that's absolutely amazing, and we'll keep hold of that. In terms of, you know, I don't like it becoming a bit of a meme that I end up going away from the channel for as long as I do, but there have been a few reasons. Work has been absolutely insane recently. I think I've done several sort of 13-14 hour days recently, so with that in mind, my spare time becomes very precious to me. And with the training, everything, something has to take a back seat. And the frustrating thing was, I have actually recorded, I think, the next 5 missions, something like that, for Homeworld, but I just haven't had time to get around and do all the editing and commentary for them yet. Second of all, Star Trek Adversaries has kind of gone on hold at the moment. Reasoning for that being that we are awaiting the Romulan expansion and nothing has happened yet at the moment. And the thing is, I'm kind of in a holding pattern because I have a ton of Latinum and boosters saved up, and I sure as heck don't want to just crack stuff on old, crack all the boosters etc. on old cards when there's a new expansion coming out. But when the new expansion does drop, I will be resuming coverage for Star Trek Adversaries. I'll be doing an awful lot more on that because I'm going to have more cards available etc. So what I would recommend is, if you are interested in seeing that game, just let me know. And one thing that I am potentially looking to do is take viewer requests in terms of what decks I play or something along those lines, because as much as it's fun to play like a top meta deck for a while, that does get a little bit boring in terms of content. I like playing fun things. I play the game for fun, and if that involves building wacky decks and getting beat, so what, it doesn't really matter. I'm not gonna be number one on the ladder etc. because I don't have the time to play the game for 6-7 hours a day or anything along those lines. So you know, I am very much looking to have some fun with that game. It's also recently, it's very much sort of realigned my priorities in terms of free-to-play games, pay-to-win games, whatever, how you want to propose them. And to be honest, I 100% now am behind the thought that if you're going to, if you have to spend money on a game, as long as it's fun, it's not wasted. Obviously, there are limits to that. You're not going to put yourself in debt or anything like that. I'm certainly looking at you, EA, or someone like that, for the absolutely horrific practices that they've shown, especially on Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes recently, where they pretty much launched a character that you couldn't get unless you'd spent $400. You know, that sort of thing I will never support. However, you know, in terms of a game like Star Trek Adversaries or something along those lines, absolutely I will support them with cash to buy boosters or something like that, because if that cash allows me to enjoy the game a bit more, then it's cash well spent, and it's not like we're talking a back-breaking amount of money. So this is my chance to grab a hell of a lot of multi-beam frigates here, and I'm going to try and take that opportunity because they're not really defended by... Whoa! Fortunately, they're not that accurate. You know, fortunately, they're not defended by swarmers here, and they're not great at fighting off salvage corvettes either. So I'm going to be able to grab... several of them here, which is pretty awesome. Not sure how many I got there, but I think I leave this mission with 8. Either 7 or 8, somewhere in that region. So, just along those lines, while I wait for... Stop shooting at it. Whoa, stop. Just while we wait for the Star Trek Adversaries line, I am actually going to be revisiting Star Trek Online again. I have several storylines to play through, show a little bit of the updated content just so that people can see what we've got. And to be honest, I do have to say I don't think there's too much new in terms of getting your ship up to full spec. It didn't take me very long at all, but I can show you what I'm flying at the moment. It's still the same ship, it's just configured differently, and hopefully you guys will enjoy that content, because I actually haven't played through anything. I don't think I've actually played through any of the storylines since the Iconian arc, so it should be quite fun going through it, because I believe some of the endgame content can actually be got, or some of the endgame gear can now actually be got through the missions, which is pretty awesome, to be honest. Although there is some argument to be said that Star Trek Online still doesn't have an end game, with the end game really being Space Barbie, because, you know, once you've got to the point where you can destroy all the STFs on normal, there's really no point doing anything else. I suppose for Elite you get better R&D stuff, but then again, Admiralty missions and everything like that get you down that line anyway, so there's swings and roundabouts whichever way you want to look at it. So I'll save that at least for my Star Trek Online stuff, which will be coming out soon. And we're about to kill the final Needle mothership, and there it goes. And it is also surrounded by a load of fuel pods. I'm telling my ships to retreat now because they are going to start blowing up the fuel pods, and I don't want that.
The inhibitor field has ceased. Hyperspace module back online.
Coordinates locked in. Group 5 standing by.
Of course, there is the
Group 10.
side effect here that we have probably just committed. I don't know if would you call it genocide? I suppose you might call it genocide, because this is the end of the Kadeshi, and they are, I believe, an entire subset of our people. So unless there's another group of them buried in the nebula somewhere, yeah.
It's the Karatoba. In fact, metallurgy and structural composition are an identical match to the Karatoba wreckage on Karak.
And that would seem to remove all doubt. We have just slaughtered an offshoot of our own race, it would appear. Instead that though it was defend or die. But, yep, I have rebuilt up my ships. I now have a shed ton of attack bombers, 60 of them, and these will be needed as long as a group of 10 scouts. Rebuilt up my corvettes, and my frigates are max, so I think we're pretty much ready for whatever comes at us, but you never really know with this game. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Let's get out of the Cathedral of Kadesh.